All right, welcome everyone to our virtual cooking class. My name is Tori Fenton and I am the brand strategist here at ButcherBox. And joining me today is the very talented chef and cookbook author, Bruce Weinstein. Before I give Bruce the reins here, I'm going to tell you a little bit about ButcherBox and the event tonight. First off, I know a lot of you are already members of ours, so thank you. But we do have some new faces here that don't know a lot about ButcherBox. We are one of the leading meat brands. We sell 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, humanely raised pork, and wild-caught seafood. We also have a bunch of boxes and plans that really make it easy to fit your lifestyle. We're also a B Corp certified brand. This means that we're committed to doing good. We take into consideration animal welfare, the livelihoods of our farmers, fishermen, our employees, our customers, and finally the planet when we're making business decisions. We also partnered tonight with our good friends over at Instant Brands with our high quality meat and their easy to use appliances like the Instant Pot. We're really helping our customers build confidence in the kitchen. I think that's it from me, Bruce. You ready to take it away?
Thank you, Tori.
All right, you're welcome.
So I am Bruce Weinstein, and I was thrilled that ButcherBox asked me to come and teach this class with Instant Pots because they are two of my favorite brands. ButcherBox meat is pretty amazing. I had not actually known about it before I was asked to come do this, and they sent me meat, and I tested recipes with them, and it's really amazing stuff. And of course, Instant Pots are one of my favorite appliances. I have written 4 best-selling Instant Pot books. I'm cooking out of 3 of them today, and the first one I'm really excited about because we're doing an all-American chili, and I'm doing it where the meat is still frozen hard. And when ButcherBox sends you meat, it comes frozen. And if you're like me, you always forget to thaw meat. I'm always forgetting to thaw meat. So we're gonna do this all-American chili, and it's from my book, Freezer to Instant Pot. And every recipe in here uses meat straight out of the freezer. So all that wonderful meat you get from ButcherBox that's frozen, tell you how to cook it right in the Instant Pot. Also, I want to point out the war scars on my Instant Pot. They are solid machines. This is actually one of my favorites. This is a duo. It's an 8-quart. I'm going to be using the new Rio and also a 6-quart tonight. And it's dented. Yep, it happens. It still works great. This is a warhorse. I've used this for testing so many of the recipes in my book, this very machine. So I want to get started. You have a link in the chat to see these recipes. If you haven't already downloaded them, you can. And if you're cooking along, I may cook at a different speed than you do. So don't worry about that. Just go at your own speed and everything will be fine. So all-American chili from frozen. So I'm going to just dump all these ingredients in my Instant Pot, okay? I'm gonna start, there it is, I've turned it on, and I've put it on saute, and I've done that because I want things to warm up before we get cooking. So this is a big dump and cook recipe. We have a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Very important with an Instant Pot that you use canned tomatoes that are packed in juice, not packed in puree, because then it's too thick. And if you're familiar with an Instant Pot, you may unfortunately be familiar with the burn notice because stuff is settled to the bottom and burned. So you want to make sure you're using tomatoes packed in water. If you can't find diced tomatoes packed in water, later on when these are cooking, I'm going to show you some tricks and tips, and I'll show you how to deal with a can of whole tomatoes that are packed in water. So on top of that, we also have some kidney beans. This is 2 15-ounce cans rinsed and drained, and you want to rinse them because you want to get that gunk off of them in the can. You want to get the salt off of them. And then we've got salsa. I'm telling you, this is such an easy recipe. It uses such fabulous ingredients that give you flavor, like salsa. Any red salsa that you like, you can use in this. We are going to put some canned chopped green chilies. That is, if you like hot ones, use hot ones. If you like mild ones, use mild ones. It's not a problem. Now we are going to put some chili powder. This is just a 1/4 cup of standard chili powders going in there. Make sure we get it all because that's where the flavor is. We are going to have some Worcestershire, about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. And we are going to have oregano, 2 teaspoons of dried oregano. If you can find Mexican oregano, well, that's even better. But even regular oregano would work. We're going to have a few dashes of Tabasco because I like things hot. If you don't like them hot, you could leave the Tabasco out. The onions here, I have not forgotten about it. We're going to put our stock. This is chicken stock going in. Now, onion. I wanted a fresh onion. Because we're using frozen meat, if you wanted to cheat and use a cup of frozen chopped onions, by all means, go for it. No one's in your kitchen with you. Well, maybe they are, but I'm not, so I'm not going to judge you for it. But the onion, if you're using a fresh one, peel it, and then I'm going to cut it through the root. And you notice when I peeled it, we left the root on. What that does is it allows me to cut it without it falling all to pieces. And quite honestly, I'm not fussy about how we're cutting this onion. We're putting this in an Instant Pot. It's an electric pressure cooker. It's going to boil away under pressure. So it doesn't matter if you're too thick, you're too thin. They can just be what they are. Let me do it with the other side. I'll do that again. And I don't notice, I'm not cutting to the root. I'm leaving the root intact so that it holds together and these don't fly all over the place. Okay. Again, if you don't want to do this and you just want to use frozen chopped onions, I'm not going to tell anybody. So in that goes. Okay. Notice I'm not using my knife. It's not a good idea to scrape across a cutting board with your knife, like that. It'll dull your knife, and it's really not. You could also cut yourself, so that's not a good thing. We're going to stir this up. Now, I had this on saute for a reason, because I want this to heat up before we put the lid on and start cooking. Now, the meat is going in there frozen. Boom, boom, boom. But I want a little steam, right? I want to get this started because if you know Instant Pots, you know we have to create steam. We have to get pressure for this to cook. And if you're putting ice cold meat, frozen meat, into this, it's going to chill it down. So it'll take so much longer for it to come to pressure and cook. So this way, by letting it come to a simmer and letting it heat up before we put the meat in and we put that lid on, will really help it to cook a lot faster. Now this ButcherBox meat, this is grass-fed. It is really amazing. And I want to talk about the other benefit of using frozen meat. It's not just that sometimes you forget to thaw it, and I forget to thaw it. I love chili more than anything, and I love beef chili. But when I make ground beef chili, often the meat just gets in those tiny little crumbles, and it gets, I don't know, almost like baby food. And what I love about doing it in these blocks of frozen meat is they're going to cook in here almost as if they're little mini roasts, and they're going to give their flavor that way. And when it's done and I open it up, they're still going to be blocks of meat, but they're going to be cooked. They actually may be a little rare inside, which is fine. I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to chop them up into nice chunks so that I have a really, really good texture to my chili, and it's not going to be all too fine. So I can see steam starting to wisp up out of there. So I am going to open my frozen meat. Let's get a knife here. Okay. And there's a very specific way I want to put this meat into this chili mixture. I'm not just going to dump them stacked up like this. If I were to do that, the density of all this would keep the heat from getting inside there. So what I want to do is put them in here and sort of make a teepee and lean them against each other. And by doing that, there's room underneath for the steam, for the bubbling sauce to get in there and to cook it properly. So now we're beginning to see a little bit of steam. I'm going to give it just one more little mix here. Okay, so now I don't know if you can catch that steam, but because it's starting to steam, that's when I can actually put the lid on. So we're going to put the lid on. I'm going to check my timing. Now, there's a couple of things you have to know. We hit saute, and then I have to hit cancel before I go to cook. Now, we're going to put this on 20 minutes on high pressure. Now, your machine may be different from this one, and with this machine, after I put pressure cook and I put my 20-minute timer, I do not have to hit start. There are some models of Instant Pots where you have to hit start. If yours is one of those, then hit start. If yours doesn't have the pressure cook button but has a manual button, then that's what you'll push. So you have to know your machine, read your instruction manual. They're all a little different. They all work really well to make this beautiful, fabulous chili. Okay, I'm going to swap my Instant Pot so that I have this one next to my cutting board. Let's just move that one over and make sure it's still plugged in. Great. And we're going to make a pulled chicken for this one, because the nice thing about ButcherBox is it's not just beef, right? You get pork, you get chicken, and it's all cage-free, it's humanely raised. And the first time they sent me the chicken, I was just dumbfounded. It was delicious. It's boneless, skinless breasts, and we're going to cook them. But this is an interesting recipe. It's from my book, Instant Pot Bible Copycat Recipes. And this recipe is a copycat of a barbecued pulled chicken from Sonny's barbecue chain in Florida. Now, if you've never been there, and you probably haven't, because most people from watching this probably aren't in Florida, you may not know about Sonny's, but I'm going to tell you how they do it. So it's a little different than we do other things. I'm going to build a sauce on the bottom of this Instant Pot. I'm going to put the rack in, and then we're going to season the chicken and put it on top of the rack. So the first thing about this sauce is going to, let's get the recipe right, okay, is we have some chopped Roma tomatoes, and they're just going to go in the bottom of the Instant Pot. And let's get the spices, all the right blend of spices. I want to tell you exactly what they are. Great. The spice blend that goes in with them is going to go on top of the chicken, but inside this Instant Pot we also have chicken broth. So we have the chopped Roma tomatoes, we have chicken broth, we have a little vinegar, because vinegar is really good in barbecue and sweet and sour stuff. And I want to show you how I chop this tomatoes. Let me just clear some of this off of here. So, Roma tomatoes, they all have this little stem there. I'm not going to bother cutting that off. I want that on there. As I said about the onion, this is going to go in an Instant Pot. This is going to be boiled away under pressure. So we're just going to roughly chop this up. I'm not going to worry about the little stem end. It's just going to dissolve in there and become part of this delicious sauce. Okay, so now we take our tomatoes, we throw those in there. Great. Now we have to deal with the chicken. The chicken breasts are a little bit big for what I want, because what I want to do is lay them on top of this rack. Your Instant Pot comes with a rack. Lay that rack right on top of the tomatoes. Now the chicken, look how big this is. This is a huge chicken breast, and it's lovely. But because I want it to cook quickly, I'm going to make it thinner. How am I going to do that? I'm going to open it up as if I'm butterflying. So let me show you how to do that. Chicken flat on the cutting board, got my hand on top of it. My knife is parallel to the board, and I'm just going to cut through and open it up like a book. And now I have two beautiful, thin pieces of chicken. I'm going to do that with both of them. Oh, now, sometimes they're not always the same size, and you might get a package that has a thinner chicken breast, and you can use it just the way it is. But cutting them, it's really not a big deal. As you can see, it's just right across. There you go. Okay, now we are going to do the spice rub. Now, what's in this bowl of spices? Well, the way they make it at Sonny's in Florida is mild paprika, smoked paprika. We got onion powder, garlic powder, thyme, salt, allspice, black pepper, and cayenne. That's a lot of spices. Here's something else. I told you can use frozen chopped onions in the other recipe. If you don't want to get all these spices and measure them all out, you can get 2 tablespoons of your favorite barbecue rub and just use that. It won't taste like Sonny's, but again, you know, if you haven't been to Sonny's, you won't know what you're missing. So we just mix these up well. I'm using my fingers. We are going to sprinkle these over this. Oh, yum. Get both sides coated really well. Oh, this is just a good barbecue rub. It is just fabulous. This will cook into the chicken. Some of it will go into the sauce. Once this chicken is done, we're going to take it out and chop it up and add it back in. So part of why I want this spice rubs on the chicken and not in there, also spices thicken the liquid, right? And we had that burn issue. If I had mixed these spices in with there, it might have caused the burn issue. So now we're going to lay these on the rack. I'm not piling them on top of each other. There'll be some overlap, of course, because I have 6 pieces of chicken here, but I'm not just stacking them up. Okay. All right, and then overlap, and then we'll squeeze this one off to the side. Okay, now we're going to put the lid on this one. Now, here is an important thing. The recipe for this pulled chicken in my book calls for low pressure. Not all Instant Pots have low pressure. This new machine only has high pressure. So we're going to do it on high pressure. We're going to cut the timing down a little bit because under high pressure it'll cook faster, but I also added more chicken stock. Because if you're cooking on low pressure, you can get away with a little less liquid. If you're cooking on high pressure, you need a little more liquid to create a little more steam for it to get going. So the timing on this, we are going to get that going. It would be 18 minutes on low. I'm going to set it 15 minutes on high pressure. So I cancel. I go to pressure cook. I'm only offered high. We're going to set my timer for 15 minutes. And on this particular model, just like on some others, I have to hit start. If you forget to hit start, it's not going to go. So know your model, know how it works. Otherwise, you're going to be wondering why it's just not going. I'm making sure that I am sealed here. Let's make that sealed. Okay, now before I move on to the pork, I do need to rinse my hands off. I don't like to turn my back on people, but I got to wash my hands. Before we go on to things that are going to be actually eaten, this will all get cleaned up. So I don't want you to worry about cross-contamination. Yes, there was ground beef. It was frozen. Now chicken's been on here. That's okay. I'm going to use the back of the knife. Remember I said don't scrape your cutting board with your knife? The back of the knife is okay. Don't use the sharp end of your knife. That's never a good thing. I have to play musical Instant Pots again because I want to bring the third one over so I could start cooking the third dish, which is another chili. So I'm going to take this one and just move that one over. We're playing musical Instant Pots here. Nothing is at pressure yet, so I'm not worried about disturbing anything. I wouldn't move it once it's at high pressure, but because it's not at high pressure yet, we're good. All still plugged in, everything's good to go. Okay, so the third recipe is going to be a pork chili. And this is really exciting because this is like real time and I want to show you something that I forgot to do. And if you're looking at your recipe, you'll know I forgot to do it. And this hasn't come to pressure yet, so I can still open it. See? No pressure. Excellent. There's a topping that goes on top of that chicken with the spices. Ketchup, brown sugar, and honey, because what would barbecue be without these things? So I'm going to mix this honey and ketchup together in a little bowl. All right. Get that mixed up as best I can. You know, sometimes honey gets really sticky. And I know this knife cut raw chicken, it's okay because it's going in the Instant Pot. It's going to be cooked. It's not like I'm using this knife to make a salad right now. This is all going to be cooked. Okay. So there we have that paste. That paste is just going to go poured on top of the chicken. Again, why did I not put this on the bottom? Because the thick paste can cause the burn notice. So by putting it on top, we're doing much better work with that. All right, let's set these aside. And let's put the lid on. Okay, it is still set. Pressure cook. We got our 15 minutes. It will come to pressure. And we're going to talk about our next chili. So the next chili is chili con carne, and it's made with pork. And in fact, we've got this beautiful boneless pork shoulder, which is also from ButcherBox. And I love the fact when I first got this pork, not only was it delicious, but I felt really good about using it because I knew that it was humanely raised pork, and there can be issues with pork, and I just didn't want those issues in my life. So I'm going to turn this pot, this is an ultra, and I'm putting it on saute, and I have to hit start. Again, the duos, you don't have to hit start. The ultra, you have to hit start, so you know your machine, you know how that's going to work. And so this beautiful pork, we've diced it up, and I want to tell you something. This dish is easy, but there are a couple of steps, and I'm going to get it cooking. I'm going to get all the ingredients in, then I'm going to go backwards and show you the technique of creating the steps that it got to for all this. So we're going to start just by putting some olive oil in the Instant Pot, which is heating up. And then into that, we are going to add a couple of chopped onions. Now, I told you before about chopping onions. It doesn't matter if they're perfect, right? They don't have to all be the same size because they're going in the Instant Pot. They're going to boil away under pressure. So let's put them in. And the same thing with bell peppers. It calls for 3 bell peppers in my recipe here. I have a red, a yellow, and a green. You can use all green. You can use all red. It doesn't matter. So in they go. And we're going to stir those up. Now, I just want to wait till this starts to sizzle a bit, just till it starts to heat up. And these pots are pretty quick about heating up. And then once that gets heated up, we're going to put in the diced pork. And I'm going to show you after it gets cooking how we're going to dice that pork, because it's going to come to you from ButcherBox in a big 3-pound boneless pork shoulder. And you're going to need to know how to deal with it. So I'm going to show you how to make that. I'm also going to show you how to make this. This is a chili paste made from dried chilies. Now, true Texas chili, chili con carne, what does that mean? If you translate it from Spanish, chili with meat. There's no beans, there's no tomatoes. That's what true Texas chili is. So we're going to make this chili paste. I'm going to show you how to do that with dried chilies. Also, once this gets cooking, and it needs liquid because you always need some liquid in an Instant Pot. You can use broth, but you know what? I kind of like beer. So I'm going to be putting beer in this. If you don't want alcohol or you don't want to cook with alcohol, that's okay. Then you could just use stock. Oh, I hear the sizzle. See, now we're starting to sizzle. Oh, that's really good. Now, notice how deep these vegetables are, right? These are not just sitting at the bottom of the pot. These are pretty deep down here. So they're not really sauteing. The true word of what's happening is they're sweating. We're sweating. I'm sweating. The vegetables are sweating. So by putting so much in a pot at once and turning the heat up, putting a little oil, we're actually sweating our vegetables. Okay, and I just want to take just the edge off of them. I want the onions to start smelling a little sweet and not that strong onion taste. And that's actually what's already starting to happen. So what I could do now is take this beautiful cut up boneless pork shoulder from ButcherBox, and in it goes. Fabulous. And we're just going to stir that up. Hear that? I love that sound. It's kind of what I love cooking so much, is the sounds of cooking are so amazing. I'm not trying to brown this. I sweated the vegetables a bit to soften them, but I'm not trying to brown this meat. I'm just getting it incorporated, and now, really important, I'm going to add all of this chili paste. Now remember, this is the chili paste I'm going to show you how to make as soon as I get the lid on this pot. And so this is made with dried chilies, and there's oregano, there's a tangerine in here. Oh, these are the flavors of Mexico. Oh my goodness, it's so delicious. All right, so now I'll stir this up. I do want to cook the chili paste a little bit. I want to hear that sizzle. I want it to fry just a little bit, but I don't want to burn it. So just until, by the time the meat is completely coated, it'll be enough. Oh, yum. Okay. I'm still looking at the timers on there both. You can see steam is starting to come out of this one, which shows us it is starting to heat up. The steam hasn't started coming out of the chicken yet, so these machines take a while. You have to build up pressure, and then you have to wait. So here we go. Okay, this is good. Is that on properly? I'm making sure it's on properly. Liquid. We're going to get our beer, because that's what I think goes best with chili. It's beer. Oh, bubbling out. Okay. We're going to put about 3/4 of this can. Oh, my goodness. It's 2 cups of liquid. And that can is 14.9 fluid ounces. That's not quite 2 cups, so we're going to supplement that with some stocks. I want to make sure I have enough liquid. If you don't have enough liquid, you will get that dreaded burn notice, which you don't want to get. And this chili paste will absorb a lot of this. I'm going to put all of that in there. Okay. That looks so beautiful. Oh my goodness. You know what? I can't let this beer go to waste. So we're just going to put it in. A little extra liquid cannot hurt at all. It's just going to give you more delicious sauce. Okay. Now, we turn this off. We put it on pressure cook. And we set it for, let me get my timing on this one. I believe this is going to go for 25 minutes. If it's wrong, I will adjust it. Okay, so there we go. Time down. Every machine is different. Use your owner's manual to know how to set the time on your machine. And we hit start, because on this machine we have to sit hard. And good. Everything is now ready to cook. Oh, look at that. That one is at pressure. That's beautiful. This one is still coming to pressure. I want to talk about how we made everything. Now I'm looking at these. These scallions, these scallions were supposed to go into the chicken. That chicken was a whole problem tonight. I forgot to put the sauce on it. Now the scallions didn't go in. Here's the thing. It's still not at high pressure. So I'm just going to throw them in there, okay? So watch this. Quickly, slice up the scallions. See, cooking is not science, and as long as the pressure cookers are not at pressure yet, I could put them in there. Okay, so let's open that. Oh, there's steam and it's boiling, which is good. I want that, but it wasn't at pressure yet. So in they go. We close it back up. Let's get it closed. There we go. And terrific. Now, the chicken's got all the ingredients, right? It does. The chicken's got all the ingredients. The pork's got all the ingredients. The all-American frozen beef chili has got, this is a marathon. 3 recipes in 45 minutes. This is crazy. Okay, so when you order your ButcherBox boneless pork shoulder, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a beautiful piece of pork. And these ingredients, again, I'm not going to worry about the chili powder on there. We're going to be cooking this later. This is a beautiful kitchen. This is going to get cooked up. It's going to be, don't worry about it. We're not wasting anything. How do you deal with a pork shoulder? If you have never dealt with an entire pork shoulder, well, you actually could roast this, which is really lovely. You could rub it in all these spices and put it on your smoker, which is really lovely. Or you could throw it in your Instant Pot with a bottle of barbecue sauce and a beer and make pulled pork. But that's not what we did. Today we made this beautiful chili paste, and we have this pork, and we're making a chili con carne. So I need to cut it into cubes. So you take the pork, and you're going to cut it into 1/2-inch slices. Look at that, right through. Don't worry about all this fat. I know some people are going, oh, there's so much fat in it. That is delicious. That is where the flavor is. You won't even know that there's fat going on in here when you're eating it. It's just so good. So we're going to keep cutting. And again, if you're not exact, if this isn't a 1/2 inch, if yours is 1 inch, don't worry about it. It's really not going to be a problem. And as we get to the point where I can't hold it anymore, turn it on its side and then cut it this way into 1/2-inch slices. Okay. Keep doing the whole thing. I really want to show you how this works. Okay. So now we have our basically 1/2-inch pork shoulder steaks. Kind of looks like pork belly, but it's pork shoulder. So now we're going to cut these into 1/2-inch strips. Okay. And then these strips get cut into 1/2-inch cubes. So that's what it takes. That's how we made our pork that went into the chili. Oh, how's this doing? This is bubbling away. I see steam coming up. Love steam. Steam tells me that's working. I know sometimes when you're working with Instant Pots, you're like, come on, come to pressure. You want that thing to pop up. You want it to come up. But it will. It will, it will. Okay, so now let's keep cutting this up. All right, I'm going to put this aside in a minute because we're going to cook this later after the class because we're not going to let any of this amazing meat go to waste. But I want to show you how to make that chili paste because that is truly amazing. So we're going to take this away. We're going to swap it out. I'm going to wash my hands again. We're going to get rid of the knife and everything that touched raw meat. And I want to make sure that my hands are clean. Okay. Thank you, Tori. Oh, look at that. Waiting for that to pop up. That will pop up. And this one is coming there. Okay, so chili paste. You saw that beautiful Texas chili paste. Well, how did I make that? Well, I started with dried chilies because that's how you make chili paste. I have gloves here. My hands are wet, so the gloves may not go on easily. They don't always if your hands are wet. But you don't have to use gloves when you're dealing with chilies. I just like to because chilies can be really hot and here's this thing about chilies. You got to wash your hands really well after you deal with chilies because they are hot. They can get hot. All right, there we go. Great. When you go to the store to buy dried chilies, there are a couple kinds you can find. And I'm not talking about varietals because, yeah, we have our anchos and our mulattos and our Merita chipotles, and those are my 3 favorites that I've used in the chilies tonight. But you can get really nice ones that are flexible. Look at that. That's like dried fruit. A dried chili should be like dried fruit, right? It should smell nice. It should be leathery. If you go to your store and you buy your dried chilies and they do that, that's old. That's dried out. That's not a good dried chili. That may be pretty, but it's not going to be the best thing for our chili paste. So you have these wonderful flexible chilies. I have Meritas, I've got anchos, I've got these beautiful chipotles. Now the parts of chili that are hot, as you know, I'm just going to break this open right here. It's the seeds and these veins. These veins are the part that you want to pull out. Now if you really like heat, you could keep them, but I like to get rid of them. So basically this whole prep for doing this is to tear open these chilies. You can use a scissor, you can use your hands, doesn't really matter. As long as you have gloves on, it's certainly easy. So you're going to do that with all these chilies, right? I'm going to break them all open. I'm going to pull out the seeds, and then I'm going to put them back in this bowl. And then I'm going to cover them with boiling water because I have to rehydrate them a bit. And they're going to have to soak 20 minutes. There we go, popped up. It's had to go 20 minutes. I don't want you to sit here and watch chili soak for 20 minutes. You might as well watch paint dry. It's not fun. Watch your toenails grow. So this way, here we've got our lovely, so now look at the difference. Look what happened here. It went from this to this. It even changed color. It got lighter. That was the same chili. Boiling water did that. And I'm not going to use this water. We're just going to take the chilies. So I'm going to grab this blender that I have right here. And because we're going to use a blender to make this lovely chili paste. Okay, if I can get the plug, I'm going to move the blender to this side of my cutting board so it reaches. Man, when you got this many appliances going at once, I don't recommend you try this many at home unless your circuit breakers can handle this many appliances. I know mine couldn't. Man, when I was testing recipes for my Instant Pot books, I would have to test recipes on the back porch and in the living room because my kitchen could only handle just so many Instant Pots. And at one point I would have 7 or 8 or 9 going. So we take these soaked chilies and we're going to pull them out of the water and we're going to put them inside the blender. Oh, these smell so heavenly. So you can see why I wanted to get that started and not do this before, otherwise we would have never gotten this done. Okay, there we go. That's all of them. Great. Now, also, we've got garlic. We've got 4 or 5 cloves, 4 or 5, who really counts with garlic? 5, 6, 7, whatever you like will work. We have cumin seeds, we have cinnamon, we have ground cloves, and we have salt. Those all go into our chili paste. We have fresh oregano. So I love fresh oregano. Take it off the stems, just use the leaves. The stems are really not what you want. And this is my favorite ingredient in this. This is a little peeled mandarin orange. It adds a little bite of sour. Sour orange is a big flavor used in Mexican cuisine, and I love that. Now, I am going to take this. I'm going to get this. I need some water. We're going to get some fresh water from the sink. Oh, I just heard an Instant Pot go. Oh, my goodness. Countdown. The chicken's on countdown. You need a little fresh water to get this blending. And I don't want to use the soaking water because the soaking water is, it's just full of soaking stuff. And it could be a little bitter, and I don't like using it. So I'm going to use some fresh water. It's about a cup or so. I just need enough to get it going. Now, this blender does not have, it has a hole in the lid. So I'm going to keep my hand there lest I end up, okay, I'll turn this on. Look at that. Oh, look at that. That is just Mexican gold. That is Southwest cuisine at its best. the flavor of this, even the look of it, it is just, it's red and it's glorious and it's herby and garlicky, and the flavor of those chilies cannot be beat. So this is how we made the sauce that went into the pork. Now there's one other thing I want to show you about that dish. So let me take this away. And that was the peppers. I just threw the peppers in and I didn't talk about them. So I want to talk about them for a second. Make sure I unplug the proper thing and not an Instant Pot. Excellent. That would not be fun if I unplugged the Instant Pot. Okay, I can take my gloves off because I'm done with the hot chilies and I'm back to a sweet bell pepper. There were 3 bell peppers that went into this pot for the chili. And when they were cut up, look at the chili carrot. You see that peppers usually have 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 3, and then they have indents in their quadrants. Well, those indents are where the ribs are that hold the chili. So what I like to do when I'm cutting a pepper is cut down that way. And the ribs stay there. I get a beautiful slice of pepper without any ribs on it. Do that again. Look at that. Do that again. Oh, that one had a little rib. So if that happens, then you just take your knife and cut it out. It usually works. It gives you a good idea of where it is, but it also makes it easier. Look at that. And then, at the bottom, I have this one lovely little thing to just throw away, and I have all my chilies. And they get cut up for this chili that we did coarsely, just like the onion. I'm not fussy about it. You know, undue fussiness does not get dinner on the table, and I'm all about getting dinner on the table. So now this is still not bubbling, so I'm going to give a peek and see what's happening in there. Oh, it's bubbling away. Excellent. Let's close that again. Now, I want to talk one more thing about chilies, especially the hot ones. Capsaicin, that stuff that I pulled out that's on the inside, that's the stuff that makes you burn. Now, capsaicin, if you burn your mouth eating those hot chilies, what is your go-to thing? Lemonade, a Diet Coke, a beer, something ice cold, right? Not always going to work. Why? Because capsaicin is both an alkali molecule and it's fat soluble. So the best things you can have are either something acidic or fat. So if you burn your mouth on chilies, what you want to do is go have a glass of whole milk or butter or tortilla, something that will dissolve that capsaicin off the inside of your mouth and you can swallow it. And when you get it on your hands, you could wash those hands all you want with soap and water, but I guarantee you there's still going to be some on there. And when you go to rub your eyes or you go to do anything, you're going to be in trouble. The best thing to do if you weren't wearing gloves is to rub a little oil on your hands, let the oil dissolve the capsaicin, and then wash your hands. And then finally, I said when I was making the very first chili, the all-American chili from the freezer, that you had to use canned tomatoes packed in juice in your Instant Pot. And sometimes it's not easy to find diced tomatoes in juice. They often come in puree. So I have a can here of whole tomatoes in juice. And if this is all you can find, here's the trick. Can of tomatoes and a scissor. And you just cut. You just stick your scissor right into this can of tomatoes and you cut away. And you keep cutting until you have tiny little bits of tomato, kind of where if it's all like this, then that's about what you would get in a can of diced tomatoes. So we just keep doing that. So that's your trick. If you cannot find canned diced tomatoes and juice, that's what you're going to do. So all 3 of our chilies are cooking. 2 of them are, this one will be done in 12 minutes. So the first chili will be done in 12 minutes. The second chili will be done in 11 minutes. And the pork chili that will take the longest to cook hasn't even reached high pressure yet. So that'll take a little longer. While these cook, this is the time that I want to open up the floor to any questions you guys have about cooking with this great ButcherBox meat, with cooking in an Instant Pot. I mean, you got me here. I know the Instant Pot in and out. I know food, I know meat. Ask away and I will answer.
All right, first question we have is from Keen, and they are asking, is there an easy conversion formula when using an Instant Pot versus regular?
So I'm guessing you mean an Instant Pot versus a regular stove, like just cooking it on the stove. If that's what you're asking, The recipes for the Instant Pot are all formulated to cook in this tight environment where there's no evaporation, where you're not having reduction. So if you're cooking something on the stove, I suppose you could put these same ingredients in a big pot on your stove, but you'd have to add more liquid because you're going to have evaporation happening over a much longer time. For instance, this pork is going to be done in 25 minutes. If you tried to cook this on your stovetop, you're talking at least an hour, hour and a half maybe, and over that time you're going to have reduction and you're going to lose a lot of moisture. So it'll take a lot more liquid, and it would have to literally be a recipe by recipe distinction of how you would do that. So no, there's not one overarching rule on how that would work.
All right, now we have a question from Deborah. It's a pretty long question, so I'll read the whole thing.
Okay.
I have a clarification question.
Okay.
I've never thought of opening the pot once I started pressure. Same, because I'm terrified. So can I open it until I see the metal bit? Does it have a technical name? Pop-up? Do you just remove the lid, not pressing any buttons?
That's a very good question. I know that once you turn it on, that ideally you shouldn't have to open the lid. It's not even that the little pin popped up to show me that it was at that it was at pressure, not even at high pressure yet. There wasn't even any steam coming up yet, so I felt safe. If you see any steam whatsoever, do not open the lid, because that could be a problem. Any steam at all, because you might not be able to get the lid back on, you might not be able to lock it again. It was only reason I did it was because I had just begun and there was no steam coming up yet. So I hope that that clarifies for you how to be safe with your Instant Pot. Do we have more questions? Oh, no, we are finally, the chili con carne has beeped. It'll be ready in 25 minutes. I'm so hungry, I could barely wait 25 minutes.
Another question
Yeah.
for you. What is your favorite ButcherBox cut of meat?
Oh, my favorite ButcherBox cut of meat. There's so many, it's so hard. I love the short ribs. I know there's an issue with short ribs. They sell out very fast, so they're not necessarily always available. The ground beef can't be beat. I mean, it's just like, you need to keep it in your freezer all the time. And my last box came with these sweet and smoky salmon bites. Oh my God, they were just to die for. I had some friends over to play cards, and we opened those, and I also had some ButcherBox bacon, and I took some medjool dates, and I took the pit out, and I stuck a little ring of pickled jalapeno in the dates, and I rolled them in the bacon, and I shoved them in the oven, and oh God, we served those with the sweet and hot salmon bites, and it was just amazing.
Another question, this one is coming
Sure.
from Carlos. Is more liquid always the way to prevent the burn warning?
Very good question, Carlos. I wish there was a single answer to give you to prevent the burn notice, because it is, if you're not familiar with Instant Pots, so as they're coming to pressure, as it's boiling away there and the pin pops up, it's going to reach a high pressure and then it'll start counting down. Sometimes, if you have very starchy food, if you have pasta, if you're cooking rice, things could settle to the bottom where the heating element is, and then it could burn before it reaches high pressure, and then the front of the machine says, burn, the dreaded burn notice, and it's not fun. More liquid usually helps. Keeping super, super thick ingredients like tomato paste and tomato puree at a minimum. Again, using canned tomatoes packed in juice as opposed to packed in puree is a very good way to stop that. When I do spaghetti in the Instant Pot, and you can cook raw spaghetti right in the Instant Pot. You build the sauce, and then you put the pasta in, and it cooks right in there. I don't push the pasta down to the bottom where it could stick and burn. I sort of keep it up near the top. So more liquid, keeping your starchy stuff sort of up. You saw what I did with this chicken here. It had a lot of spice mixture, and that spice mixture would have mixed with those tomatoes and the stock, and it would have fallen to the bottom and given me the burn, which is why it was on the chicken and not in the liquid. And I also added more liquid this time to the chicken because I was cooking it at high pressure. And that was the other thing we talked about, low pressure versus high pressure. Most Instant Pots come with the choice of both. Most people never use low pressure, but there are a lot of recipes in my books, and I have 4 Instant Pot books that use low pressure. I find that low pressure works so much better for certain things, especially if you want to get away with less liquid. That's the nice thing about low pressure in the Instant Pot. You can use less liquid and not get the burn if you use low pressure. It just takes a little longer to cook. We have more questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a type of recipe that you like to use Instant Pots for specifically?
I love cooking meat in my Instant Pots, so I will say that that is, if you're going to a kind of recipe, these chilies are great, meat sauces are great, pot roast. Where else can you get a pot roast done in like 40 minutes or a brisket done in 50 minutes? Or even like this pork shoulder. If we didn't cut it up to make this fabulous chili con carne, again, I could have put it in the Instant Pot and in 50 minutes to an hour, I would have had pulled pork. So I love doing meat. I love doing big cuts of meat. I love doing small cuts of meat. I like just cooking meat in my Instant Pot.
Another question
Yeah.
from Christine. Where do we find your cookbooks? Are they available through ButcherBox?
As far as I know, ButcherBox is not selling my books. I could talk to them about, about that, but this is the first Instant Pot book. It's the Instant Pot Bible, and this came out a few years ago. We have 250,000 copies of this book in print, and that was followed up with Instant Pot Bible Next Generation, which has hundreds of new recipes that aren't in the Instant Pot Bible. Then we went from Instant Pot, from freezer to Instant Pot, which I am so excited about because, again, when ButcherBox asked me to do this, like, we have to do frozen meat. You guys ship frozen meat. Let's show people how to cook frozen meat because I'm sure a lot of you are like me and forget to thaw what you want to make for dinner. And then the newest Instant Pot book came out last year, and that's my copycat recipes. These are Instant Pot recipes that copycat famous restaurants from Olive Garden to Cracker Barrel to Sonny's barbecue chain in Florida. So thank you for that question. You can get them wherever fine books are sold, online bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, wherever you buy books, they are there.
And Kristen is asking, I don't have an instant pot yet. Are there any recommendations as to brands that are good and easy to use, or any specific Instant Pot models?
Well, that's an interesting question because people confuse Instant Pot, the machine, with Instant Pot, the brand. The Instant Pots is the brand of machine. These are electric pressure cookers, and the brand name is Instant Pot. There are other makers of them, but I have only worked in recent years with Instant Pots. And they have so many models that you will find one that fits for your cooking. They have 3 quarts. They've got 6-quart models. This is an 8-quart. I even have a 10-quart Instant Pot at home, which I can make enough spaghetti and meat sauce like for 10 people at once. So I would recommend getting a 6 or an 8-quart Instant Pot for yourself and see how that works. And if you find you really love it, then you can get a 3-quart as a supplement to make rice in on the side if you're making a stew in your 6-quart. So yeah, I would suggest you can get the Duo. The Duos are great, and they come in all different sizes. And the new one, I love the new one. I like the design of it. It's the Rio. I mean, it doesn't have low pressure, but you can adjust. So if you use any of my recipes that call for low pressure, all you have to do high pressure, but you have to double the liquid, and then you'll have no problem.
Great. I have a question from Jonathan.
Okay.
He's asking, have you used the steamer baskets with the Instant Pot, and does it work well?
So steamer baskets, yeah, you can. I like using them because what they allow, we've got something singing at me, the chicken's done. So the steamer basket allows you to lift things up and it's not being boiled away then in a sauce or a stock or water on the bottom. It's actually cooking in steam. I like to do fish on the steamer baskets, and you guys sell at ButcherBox fabulous salmon. And I do that, I take the salmon and I just give it a little rub with lemon pepper seasoning, which is one of my favorite things, and I put it right in the steamer basket. I could put a little bit of white wine and water at the bottom of the Instant Pot and then turn it on at high pressure for only about 3 minutes is all it takes to cook that salmon. So yeah, I like using the steamer basket for a lot of things. So I suggest let's have a look at what's going on in the chicken. Then we can come back to more questions, and then we can go back to giving away more Instant Pots. So when you cook in an Instant Pot, you have a choice. The recipe will tell you, but we have a choice as recipe developers. Do we want to do a quick release or a natural release? Well, what's the difference? The release means we have to get rid of the pressure in there so we can open it. So a natural release means we unplug it, we turn it off, we let it just sit because it already counted down, and over time the pressure will drop because it's not heating anymore, and then we can open it. music to my ears. The all-American chili's done too. A quick release, all the machines have a built-in way to do it. On the Rio, we have a little button here, and I'm going to flip that button. That's a quick release. All of that steam is now going away so that we're going to drop our pressure and I'll be able to open it up. They all have a little different way of doing it. I'm not going to do it yet on this one. This is my Ultra, and it has a button to push down. This had a slider. This one over here, this is a Duo. It also counted down, and we're going to release its pressure, and that I just pull the thing to the side. So we have a lot of steam happening now. Steam is hot, right? This is not a time to think about having a facial. I mean, seriously, this is very hot stuff. So you have to be careful. You're cooking. You wouldn't stick your head in a hot oven if you're pulling a cake out. So you don't want to put your face anywhere near the hot steam coming out of these Instant Pots. So I want to tell you what's going to happen next. As soon as we get down to our full natural pressure and we can open it, I'm going to take the chicken out of this one and I'm going to chop it up and then we're going to put it back in there. And then we're going to do the same thing with the all-American chili. I'm going to pull those blocks of meat out, I'm going to chop them up, and we're going to put it back in. Remember I said earlier that what I loved about that chili is that it's not little bits of ground beef, it's big chunks. And you're going to see just how I get to do that. It's almost like having meatballs in your chili. It's really, really good. I'm just going to get these all out of my way. This cutting board did not have raw meat on it, so I can go ahead and use it for the meat. I'm going to get a big knife off the knife board. Big knife. You don't have to use a knife this big. I like big knives, but you should use whatever. This is probably what most people are comfortable with. Use what you're comfortable with. There's nothing more dangerous than using equipment in your kitchen that you're not comfortable with. And I hope you're all very comfortable with your Instant Pots because they are safe. When you follow the directions, when you use them correctly, they are very safe and they are just solid machines. Again, I have tested over 1,000 recipes for my books. I have used this one here for so many of them and it's still going strong. So this is great because the chili con carne still has 15 minutes, but that will give us time to open these other ones, to chop them up, to taste them, and then we can get back to this and still answer more questions. We're getting there. You can see the lid is loose. Oh, voila. Okay, look at that. That is fantastic. Get the tongs here. Okay. So now what I want to do is pull the chicken out. Oh, going to put it on my cutting board. These are those beautiful chicken breasts that I sliced in half and I made thinner ones. Oh, this smells so good. Oh my God, I am a barbecue fan. I love barbecue. The first time I went to Texas, I grew up, a Jewish kid in New York. My grandmother made brisket every Friday night, but I had no idea you could smoke a brisket. I was like, what? Smoke brisket? So I discovered barbecue, and this is, oh my goodness, this chicken, I can see how tender and fabulous it is. Now, you remember I put the rack in there. You just take it out. We'll just take that out, and we'll put it off to the side. Now I'm going to put this pot back on saute. And why am I doing that? My glasses so I could see. I'm putting it on saute to bubble away, to boil the sauce. I want to reduce the sauce a little bit because it's a little wet. We needed the extra liquid because I was cooking under high pressure. Remember, I added extra liquid, so I'm going to let this bubble away. In the meantime, I'm going to chop up this chicken. And you can chop it with a knife. If you want to get fancy and pull it apart with 2 forks, you could do that. But quite honestly, I'm very happy just to be chopping it with my knife. And this pulled chicken is so good on hamburger buns, which is how I'm going to eat them in a few minutes. They are good. You could take this reduced sauce and this chicken and put it on top of some cooked macaroni and put some cheese on it and crumble some Fritos and make a sort of mock Frito pie. Oh my God, you could use this for anything. You could take this chicken And you could reduce this sauce to a glaze and just toss it in there with a little mayonnaise once it's cold and make this sort of barbecue chicken salad. There's like nothing you can't do with this. It's so good. Okay, so now that's our chopped up chicken. And I'm going to use the back of my knife. Actually, what I'm going to do is I take this out, bring this over to me. I know a lot of people at home who have Instant Pots are going, how did he do that? How did he not burn himself? I am a chef. I have asbestos hands. I have been lifting hot things for years. So now I'm going to take this chicken. And yes, I had it on saute. I didn't turn the buttons. This thing is still heating up, which means this is going to go back into there. All right, so all this chicken is going in. Oh, yum. Oh, holy cow. You can't smell this, but I can, and I could tell you that I am hungry. It's dinner time. All right, so I don't want to miss even a crumb, a speck of this delicious chicken. Oh, ButcherBox chicken is too precious. Okay, so that goes back in. It's still on saute. That's going to come back to a simmer and reduce, and while it does, I'm going to pull this over. Let's play some musical Instant Pots again. And let's take this one, and let's move this one. Oop, we got plug issues. All right, there we go. All right, now we can open this one. Oh, what I said, the meat is going to be almost like two little roasts, right? Look at that. And I'm going to pull them out and put them on my cutting board. And the fun thing is, I get to chop those up. That little bit of chicken, it's going to be fine. It's not cross-contamination. It's all cooked. Okay, and I'm going to put this on saute too, because I wanted this to bubble away and stay hot. So now, we have our two clumps of what were frozen ground beef, right? They went in frozen. And look at that, they are cooked. There's a little pink in the middle. I know with chili you don't want the pink, but the nice thing is these are going to get stirred back into that hot chili, and in about 30 seconds that pink's going to disappear. And again, what I said I like about this chili is look at this. I could chop it up as fine as I want. I could leave big chunks like that, or I can go a little finer. I'm going to go a little bit finer. I like to have chunks, but oh, this meat smells so good. And what I love about putting the meat in this, I think I said it earlier too, it's almost like you're putting a mini roast in there. And you're getting all the juices of a roast into that chili. And it's like having steak chili and roast chili. Oh my goodness. And all we did was start with 1 pound blocks of frozen ButcherBox organic grass-fed beef. You can't beat that. All right, so we chopped up one. Let's chop up the next. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Again, if you want to be real fancy, okay, you have company coming for dinner, you could cut these into like steaks, put that in a bowl, ladle some of that chili over the top, sprinkle some cheese, make up your own dish. You don't even have to chop it up fine, but I'm going to do this. I like it to be spoon-sized pieces. Oh, yum. And this was rock hard frozen, right? That was the thing. That's the thing with that book that I wrote, the Instant Pot Bible Copycat Recipes. Not the freezer to Instant Pot. Everything in that book right out of the freezer. So you don't have to worry about thawing the chicken or the short ribs or the steaks. You could put it right in your Instant Pot. It comes from ButcherBox frozen. You put it right in the Instant Pot and it cooks. And now, let's see, can I do this again? Sure, why not? Okay, so now that's the chili base, and we are going to put the meat back in. Oh, yum! This is like heaven. Now, I love to eat chili with chips. I love to eat chili with sour cream. I want to know, is there anything you like to put on chili? Write in the comments, in the chat. I want to know what your favorite way to garnish your chili is. Oh, thanks. Yay, it'll make my life so much easier. Okay, big spatula. You need a big spatula in your life. You need ButcherBox meat, you need Instant Pots, and you need a big spatula. And you need Tori standing on the side giving you everything you need before you even ask for it. Oh my God, look at that. That chili is just heaven. We still have 7 minutes on the chili con carne. So we're going to taste this. and then we'll get to open that. So I want to start with the chicken. Okay, so we've got a bun. And we're going to take some of this lovely pulled chicken out of here, and we're going to put it on our bun. It's got that lovely sauce. It's just sitting there marinating in that sauce. It's just heaven. You know what? It doesn't need anything. You could put pickle relish. You could put coleslaw. You put whatever you want. But this is so good. I'm going to be a real pig on camera. Eat this in front of you. It's sweet. It's a little smoky. It's a little vinegary. It is so delicious. I'm turning the bubbling off on the All-American chili because that is looking fabulous. Oh, that is so good. I think I need to share that. Tori, come in. You have to try this.
I gotta grab something else.
Okay. So we're going to get Tori in here because she has to try this because I don't want to eat alone. And this is just so good. But I am going to keep eating alone.
Great coleslaw.
Oh, coleslaw. Yum. See, that's my favorite way to eat this pulled chicken sandwich. There's a coleslaw. Yeah, you give it a try if you don't mind my cooties.
I don't mind your cookies.
Oh, there you go. Excellent. Isn't it nice to work for a company that makes such amazing food? It's so great.
Oh, chicken's very tender.
The chicken is so tender. It just falls apart. I have bought those big, gigundo 2-pound chicken breasts in the supermarket, and I have cooked them in an Instant Pot, and they're still tough and when I get done with them. These are tender. These are falling apart. These are really delicious. The combination of cooking that chicken in this pot, it just can't be beat. So let's try this chili. This is the All-American with beans and ground beef, but not the finely ground up ground beef. This is, big chunks of ground beef. Oh my goodness. And what I want is a spoon. But until I have a spoon, I'm just going to use a tortilla chip because tortilla chips make that is such good chili.
One for you.
Holy cow. That is such good chili. It's hot, so be careful.
I
Blow
like
on
you.
it.
I can deal with tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
Do you blow on your food when it's too hot?
Oh, that is really hot.
And the meat has a chew to it. That's the thing I love about using the frozen blocks of meat, is that you don't end up with this just smooth chili.
Yeah.
You end up with a nice hearty chunk, and you could use cheese, you could use pickled relish, pickled jalapenos. I'm going to save those pickled jalapenos. We have 4 minutes to go on the pork chili, and in fact, I might decide that, we're okay, and I'm going to try and open it. I don't suggest you cut the recipe short yourself, right? If you're making this, let it go the full time. But we were talking about watching paint dry, and I don't want you to watch paint dry, so I'm turning it off with 3 minutes now to go. Off, and we're going to do a natural, we're not doing a natural, we're doing a quick release. On this machine, that button. The pork would get a little more luxurious if I gave it those last couple minutes, but it's going to be just spectacular, and I don't need you to sit and watch the paint dry here. But I'm going to move this so that we don't destroy the cameras in the studio. The steam on the camera is not a good thing. Oh, this chili. I'm going back to eating the chili because it's so good. This recipe from my book, Freezer Instant Pot, made with the ground beef from ButcherBox, cooked in the Instant Pot. It's just the perfect storm of delicious chili. You can't beat it. It's just amazing. And that pulled chicken, I hope that the guys at Sonny's Barbecue in Florida have seen the recipe and are happy with it and proud that their chicken was so good that I decided to add it to my book. That is good. If anyone was cooking along at home with me, tell me, did you? Is yours ready? Have you tried it? Oh, do we have any more questions?
We do have a couple more questions.
Oh, let's see.
Are you a ButcherBox member? And what's that experience been like so far?
Well, I am a new ButcherBox member because they just invited me to join and be part of this. And I can just tell you that the meat is fabulous, and I was also kind of undone with the packaging. First of all, the shipping is fast, but this box showed up so well insulated. I've ordered frozen meat from other companies before, and everything's partially thawed when it shows up, not the ButcherBox meat. Rock hard. The packaging was perfect. It was fabulous. So, yeah, great stuff.
And Kathleen is asking, do you cook in the Instant Pot?
Very good question. I'd actually prefer to cook it from frozen because it gives you less chance of overcooking it. Even those 3 minutes will be enough. Because remember, the time it takes as it's bubbling and steam is coming up before it reaches pressure is cooking time, right? So it's not just those 3 minutes that the salmon's under pressure. It's all that rest of that cooking time. And if you like, if you like your salmon a little more cooked, a little more well done, you can give it 4 minutes, you can give it 5 minutes. I like mine slightly not as cooked. So, oh, here we go. We're gonna open this. Almost. We have to wait for that pin to drop, and then we can open it, but we're getting there. Oh, gosh. Chili con carne. This is the real deal. This is true Texas chili. This is just chunks of meat, peppers in a chili paste. Oh my goodness, okay. I am going to just, I've got a ladle. And you know what? Thank you, even with all that fat on the pork, this is not a greasy mess at all. Look at this. Let's ladle out some here. Oh, this is camera worthy. This is amazing. Okay, let's taste the sauce, which is gonna be hot. I blow my food. And some people don't like to blow in their food. I blow my food. That is beyond. That is so delicious. It's full of chili and oregano and orange. It's not too salty. It's got the flavors of the onions and the peppers held their shape. And you know, usually I put pickled jalapenos on them. It doesn't even need it, but I'm gonna add them and I'm gonna have another bite because I wanna see if that pork was tender at that time. Melting in my mouth. That pork just melted in my mouth. Wow, this was great. Are there any other questions that we've got before we wrap it up for tonight?
Yes, I do have one more question.
Okay.
Dorothy said her chili is a little watery. Do you have any recommendations?
I'm not sure which you made. Now, I'm assuming you cooked along. So if the chili is a little watery, put it on saute and just let it bubble. 5 or 7 minutes and it'll reduce. If you don't want to wait 5 or 7 minutes, another trick is you could sprinkle in a tablespoon of cornmeal and stir that around, and that'll thicken it up a little bit.
Katie wants to know, she said, I've used pressure cookers before, but whenever I did, the quick release, the meat comes out really dry. Is there a difference with the quick release on an Instant Pot?
That's a great question. I have heard people say that they believe that quick releases dry out meat more than a natural release. And the only answer I could give you to that is you didn't cook the meat long enough for it to fall apart, or you were using meat that was just kind of dry to begin with, too lean. Because the way you release the meat shouldn't affect the fat content and the collagen content of the meat. So it's really more about the meat you're using than the release you're using.
Question comes from Carlos, who is asking, will shrimp overcook in a pressure cooker?
Yes. The Instant Pot's brilliant for a lot of things. So what I did in my books, in both the Instant Pot Bible and the Instant Pot Bible Next Generation when we did seafood, is we use the pressure cooker to build the sauce. And whether it's tomatoes, onions, celery, however you're doing your sauce, you let that go into pressure, then you open it up, you stir the shrimp in, and just in 2 minutes it's cooked. So you use it for the sauce, and you cook your seafood afterwards. So, and I think that about wraps us up for this class. I mean, I had a great time.
I did too. I really enjoyed watching you. I can't wait to add some cornbread to this one.
Yum.
And I also wanted to thank Bruce. You were absolutely amazing. And then my team behind the scenes, you can't see them, but I have quite the team back here.
Thank you guys.
They are just absolutely amazing and wonderful. And hopefully we can welcome Bruce back for an air fryer event at some point. So that'll be cool to look forward to. Thank you everyone and have a good night.